The last time I saw him, he was laying in the bed, holding on to his last breath.
Snoop Dogg just said what no one expected, and this might change everything. After years of staying quiet, he finally addressed what went down the night Tupac was taken from us. The moment his comments dropped, the internet exploded, fans connecting dots and accusing names. But what Snoop meant, that's where the mystery really begins. Shock claim. For almost 30 years, the name Tupac Shakur has echoed through hip-hop like a song that never fades. Every year brings a new truth, another so-called insider with a confession, and yet, the one man who truly could have spoken didn't. Snoop Dogg, the West Coast's smoothest operator, stayed silent. His calm became its own kind of legend. People wondered if he was protecting someone or just protecting himself. Then, in late 2024, the silence cracked. It started subtly, a few lines on social media, part poetry, part warning. But the moment Snoop's words dropped, the hip-hop world stopped scrolling. "This dude won't stop talking about me," he said. "Mad 'cause I own death row. I realize your real lies just like that." A sentence became a storm.
What was that energy like leading up to Tupac's death? Because where was you at like when you got that call? Because like I said, that was like the first serious, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, this the cold shit about it is I called Snoop. I said, "Snoop," I said, because I was, at that time I was single. The girl I was with, I had just broke up with her.
The internet dissected every syllable. Was that shade at Suge Knight? A coded message? A confession in disguise? Within hours, TikTokers had spliced together Snoop's clip with grainy 90s footage of flashing lights, headlines, and grainy Vegas nights. Twitter threads became crime boards. Reddit turned into an online courtroom. And Snoop, he just went back to posting puppy videos, watching the chaos unfold from his digital throne. But make no mistake, something had shifted. The dog father had finally barked, and everyone wanted to know what it meant. Death row tension. To understand Snoop's words, you have to rewind to the empire that birthed both brilliance and destruction. Death Row Records.
That was something, that was all West Coast, bruh. That was all in-house. If you ask me, that was all in-house.
So you believe Tupac and Biggie murder was in-house?
I believe Biggie and Tupac was in-house. All had something to do with death row people.
It wasn't just a label, it was a fortress, a battlefield, a myth. Picture the early 90s. Gold chains, smoke-filled studios, and a rising sound from the West Coast that would redefine rap forever. At its center stood three kings: Suge Knight, the iron-fisted ruler, Tupac Shakur, the poet warrior, and Snoop Dogg, the lyrical smooth talker with a crown of cool. Together, they ruled the world, but the higher the rise, the steeper the fall. Behind closed doors, power plays turned friendships into fault lines. Suge's leadership wasn't management, it was control, fueled by loyalty tests and whispered threats. Tupac was the fire, unpredictable, brilliant, impossible to contain. Snoop was the breeze, calm, calculating, smooth under pressure. Yet even he couldn't escape the tension brewing beneath the beats. By 1996, cracks began to show. Snoop and Tupac were brothers in rhyme, but divided in vision. Tupac wanted war. Snoop wanted peace. The streets demanded loyalty. The industry demanded survival. Every move they made became fuel for gossip and betrayal.
You didn't want to deal with them no more? Wasn't nobody from Bad Boy that killed Pac. Nah, not at all. If Wolf was out there and his crew like he wanted to, it's a possibility that any of that could.
So when Snoop speaks now, in 2024, his words aren't random. They're layered with decades of scars and memories. Death Row wasn't just a label, it was an era, one where music mixed with danger, and every friendship carried the weight of survival. Snoop's comments.
So normally I got two security with me that fly on a private plane. What is Suge got his homies, Pac got his security. We get to the private plane, Suge like, they can't go.
Your security.
All right, well come on with us, dog. I'm like, nah.
When Snoop finally responded to Suge Knight's latest claims from behind bars, he didn't scream, rant, or defend. He did what only a true veteran of the game could do. He posted one line, calm as ever. "Mad 'cause I own death row. I realize your real lies." That phrase, poetic, petty, prophetic, sent the internet into a frenzy. It wasn't just what he said, it was what he didn't say. Fans swore they heard double meanings. Some thought he was confirming the street's long-held rumors. Others said he was calling out old lies, reclaiming the story from the man who once ruled his career. Either way, it felt like closure, Or maybe the start of a new chapter.
We kept getting a whole bunch of calls and pages. Somebody told us to turn on the news, and we turned the news on, and we seen the little shit. I drove down there to the hospital because I wanted to see my, you know what I'm saying, make sure he was straight. I'm thinking that he was gonna make it.
Snoop's comment wasn't just directed at Suge. It was aimed at the culture itself, at every headline that got it wrong, at every fan who turned grief into gossip. Real lies, he said, and suddenly that phrase felt like an entire manifesto. Because for 30 years, people had chased shadows, built conspiracies, and forgotten the real human story behind the myth. The irony? In saying almost nothing, Snoop said everything. His cool silence, his effortless delivery, his refusal to name names. It all reminded everyone that true power doesn't need proof. It just needs presence. And that's when the question hit. Was this Snoop finally setting the record straight? Or just reminding everyone that he still runs the narrative? The real killer. Here's the thing about hip-hop history. The truth rarely lives in plain sight. For decades, the story of Tupac's final days has been retold, reimagined, and remixed into every possible theory. But when Snoop Dogg speaks now, you can feel the weight behind every word. Like a man who's seen too much, said too little, and finally found his moment to breathe. After his recent comments, fans dove deep into the archives. Old interviews resurfaced. Snoop talking about that last conversation with Tupac. The tension, the distance, the quiet regret. Back then, they were brothers bound by fame but separated by pride. Tupac wanted fire. Snoop wanted peace. And peace in the 1990s wasn't exactly fashionable in the world of West Coast rap.
I can do it. I'm clear. I'm right here. No, all I had was a phone and water.
Phone and water?
We're going to put you in the car.
I need to drink some water, man. I'm thirsty.
Yeah, we'll let you get a drink, my man. You just going for a walk?
So, when Snoop posted that cryptic message, it wasn't just shade. It was an echo of all the pain, all the loss, all the years of watching the story twist into legend. He wasn't reopening wounds, he was reclaiming his narrative. I realize your real lies. A single line that could fill a history book. People forget that Snoop isn't just an artist, he's a survivor. He lived through the chaos, walked away from the flames, and built an empire out of calm. Every word he says now feels deliberate, like someone who's finally comfortable holding the truth without needing to shout it. For the fans, it's a mystery. For Snoop, it's closure. At least his version of it. Industry reaction. The reaction came fast, faster than a West Coast beat drop. Within hours, every major outlet was running stories about Snoop's revelation. Clips spread across social media like wildfire. Comment sections turned into courtrooms. TikTok edits paired his words with dramatic slow-motion filters and grainy footage from the 90s. The narrative was set. Snoop Dogg finally tells the truth. But as usual, reality was more complicated.
Boxers should not be allowed. The tainted evidence, everything. The man, he broke a proffer agreement, and he broke the law, all kind of stuff. The boxers should not be allowed.
Veteran artists who knew both Snoop and Tupac stepped in, offering their takes. Some praised Snoop for speaking at all. He's been quiet too long, one rapper said. Others accused the media of twisting a simple message into a scandal. And somewhere in between, fans kept asking the same question. Why now? Maybe it's the timing. Maybe Snoop felt the energy shift. The world craving closure, the culture craving truth. With new legal developments and documentaries dropping every few months, his silence had started to sound louder than words. So he spoke, calmly, confidently, and with just enough mystery to remind everyone that he's still the Dog Father.
Dead longer than he lived at this point, right? So, and from, a week after it happened, everybody knew what happened, right? So whether it was this guy that held the gun, this guy that was holding the wheel, this guy that was driving, and this guy that was in the front seat or the back seat, the streets were talking and
But the real story here isn't about one man's words. It's about an industry that thrives on speculation. For decades, hip-hop has turned grief into clicks and memory into myth. When Snoop finally spoke, he wasn't feeding that machine, he was confronting it. The result? A storm of conversation that proved once again that hip-hop doesn't just remember its history, it relives it, bigger picture. In the end, this story isn't just about what Snoop said, it's about what the culture still feels. Tupac's name isn't just history, it's a heartbeat that refuses to fade. His voice still echoes through new generations of artists who never even lived through his era, but still quote him like scripture.
The homies said Death Row guys were going to have a concert at the 662 Club.
Oh, we went to the 662 Club.
I ran the door at the 662. I seen Orlando and them when they pulled up in the Cadillac, and I told my homies, Southside's up here. My homies that was at 662, everybody had their guns. We knew it was gonna be something. He said about 5 minutes.
And Snoop, he's the last standing witness to a golden age built on loyalty, betrayal, and unstoppable art. His recent comments weren't an expose, they were a reflection. A reminder that time doesn't erase truth, it just buries it under noise until someone calm enough digs it back up. What Snoop did wasn't confession or revelation, it was restoration. A reclaiming of memory, legacy, and control. He reminded the world that behind every headline, there were friendships, rivalries, and moments that shaped not just music, but a generation. His words weren't meant to solve the mystery. They were meant to remind us why it still matters. Because sometimes, silence isn't weakness. It's survival. And when the Dogfather finally decides to speak, the world listens. Not for answers, but for understanding. Drop your thoughts below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned. The story's not over, it's just getting remixed.